The Great Hall of the Galactic Dominion buzzed with anticipation. 732 species were represented in the massive amphitheater, each more bizarre than the last. Some floated in bubbles of exotic gases, others shifted between solid and liquid states, and a few existed primarily as mathematical equations with occasional physical manifestations. At the center of it all stood Admiral Krasthul, his four arms gesticulating wildly as his eye stalks swiveled to address different sections of the audience. His exoskeleton gleamed under the purple light, freshly polished for this momentous occasion. Esteemed members of the War Council, Krasthul's voice boomed through the translators embedded in every seat. Today marks the beginning of our greatest conquest yet. After subjugating 7,000 worlds across 12 galactic arms, we turn our attention to a primitive backwater known as Earth. The holographic display behind him shifted to show a small blue planet spinning slowly. Behold, he continued, a note of condescension entering his voice. A species so backward they still use combustion engines and believe reality television represents the pinnacle of cultural achievement. Laughter rippled through the assembly. A delegate from the silicon-based Myrox collective raised a crystalline appendage. Admiral, is this the same planet that broadcasts those strange mating rituals? The ones where they vote each other off islands and into strange domiciles? The very same, Counselor PX Nera. They call it entertainment. They still think atoms are the smallest particles in existence and have only recently discovered that their planet isn't the center of the universe. Another delegate, this one resembling a collection of gas clouds in a vaguely humanoid shape, spoke up. What about their defenses? Do they pose any threat whatsoever? Krasthul's mouth parts clicked in what passed for a smile in his species. Their most advanced weapons use crude nuclear fission. They've barely mastered space travel to their own moon. Most of their planet remains undefended, and their military forces are divided by arbitrary geographical boundaries they call countries. They still fight among themselves over resources and ideologies. He tapped a control on his wrist device, and the hologram shifted to show Earth's military capabilities. Primitive jet fighters, naval vessels floating helplessly on water, and ground troops carrying projectile weapons that used chemical explosions to propel metal slugs. As you can see, they're practically in the Stone Age compared to our quantum disruptors and consciousness-targeted neural weapons. Our scientists estimate the conquest will take approximately 3 standard days, with minimal casualties on our side. General Dornvex, a hulking reptilian with cybernetic enhancements covering half his body, leaned forward. How many ships do you recommend for this operation, Admiral? I've prepared an invasion force of 9,900 warships. Overkill, perhaps, but I want this to be a textbook operation. Earth will serve as an excellent demonstration of our efficiency to the remaining independent worlds in that sector. The general's scales rippled in a pattern indicating amusement. Nearly 10,000 ships for a backwater planet. You could probably do it with 10. Perhaps, Krasthul conceded. But where's the spectacle in that? The humans have a saying about bringing a knife to a gunfight. We're bringing a supernova to a firecracker fight. The council chamber erupted in appreciative laughter. Even the energy beings in the upper tiers pulsed with mirth. Very well, declared High Chancellor Uxmore, her 12 eyes blinking in sequence. The council approves your invasion plan, Admiral. You may dispatch the fleet immediately. We expect your victorious return within a standard week. Admiral Krasthul bowed, his carapace gleaming with pride. Earth will be nothing but a footnote in our glorious history. The humans won't even understand what hit them. Little did he know how catastrophically wrong he was about to be. Lieutenant Commander Vexenor fidgeted nervously in the command shuttle as it descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Being selected as first contact officer should have been an honor, but something about this mission felt off. Maybe it was the way the humans hadn't responded with panic when the massive fleet appeared in their solar system. Maybe it was how their primitive detection systems had spotted the armada way earlier than predicted. Or maybe it was the strange transmission they'd received, a human child pointing at the sky and saying, "Look, Mom, space jerks." "Sir, we're approaching the designated landing site," reported the pilot, a tentacled Xylaxian whose name Vexenor could never pronounce. "Very good. Remember, these humans are primitives. They've likely never seen beings from beyond their world. They'll probably worship us as gods or cower in terror. Either way, standard domination protocol applies." The shuttle broke through the cloud cover, revealing a large open space surrounded by simple structures. Waiting in the center was not a military response team or government officials but what appeared to be a welcoming party. Humans stood around casually, some holding cylindrical objects that the ship's sensors identified as beverages. A crude hand-painted banner hung between 2 trees reading "Welcome, Space Dudes." "This can't be right," Vexenor muttered. "Scan for weapons." "Nothing beyond some primitive projectile devices, sir. Most aren't even armed." The shuttle landed with a soft hiss, kicking up dust. As the door opened and the ramp extended, Vexen Nor straightened his uniform and prepared to make galactic history. He'd rehearsed the standard conquest speech countless times. A human female approached as he descended. She wore a simple outfit with a badge reading Mayor Jenkins and carried one of those beverage containers. "Howdy there, welcome to Earth. Specifically, welcome to Millfield, Nebraska. We figured you'd land here in the middle of nowhere to avoid causing a commotion." Smart thinking. Vexen Nor blinked all three of his eyes in succession. This was not in the training manual. "I am Lieutenant Commander Vexen Nor of the Galactic Dominion. We have come to, conquer Earth, enslave humanity, strip our resources." "We got the memo," Mayor Jenkins interrupted, taking a sip from her container. "Beer? It's domestic, nothing fancy." Vexen Nor's translator must be malfunctioning. "You understand why we're here?" "Sure. You guys aren't exactly subtle with your gigantic fleet and all. Plus you've been broadcasting your invasion plans on what you think are secure channels, but they line up perfectly with our old HBO frequency. Half the planet's been watching your War Council meetings like it's a reality show." From behind the mayor another human called out, "Dude, that Admiral Kraz, whatever guy, is hilarious. Does he always talk like he's narrating his own documentary?" Vexen Nor felt his chromatophores changing color with embarrassment. This is not how first contact scenarios are supposed to proceed. You should be panicking. There should be military responses. Your world leaders should be desperately attempting to negotiate. Mayor Jenkins shrugged. "Our world leaders figured they'd let you land first and see what you're all about before bringing out the big guns. Metaphorically speaking, mostly." A young human held up a small device and pointed it at Vexen Nor. "Can I get a selfie with you? My TikTok followers are gonna freak." Before Vexen Nor could respond, the human was beside him, making a strange gesture with its fingers and smiling widely. The device made a clicking sound. "Thanks man, this is already getting so many likes. #alien invasion is trending worldwide." Vexen Nor turned to his security detail, who looked equally baffled. "Contact the Admiral, something is very wrong here." Back on the command ship, Admiral Krasthul received the confused report from the first contact team with increasing irritation. "What do you mean they're memeing about us?" "What is a meme?" His communications officer cleared his throat nervously. "It appears to be a form of visual humor, sir. They're taking images of our fleet and adding humorous text to them. This one says, when you order an invasion on Amazon but it arrives on wish.com. I don't understand the reference, but it's been shared 17 million times in the last hour. This is absurd. Launch the secondary landing parties. Begin Phase 1 of the Conquest Protocol." The humans are clearly using some primitive psychological warfare. They can't possibly comprehend the power we wield. As the orders went out, another communication came in, this one directed specifically to the command ship. A human in a simple suit appeared on the main screen, looking relaxed despite addressing an alien invasion force. "Hello there. I'm Dave Thompson, Assistant Deputy to the Junior Secretary of Extraterrestrial Welcoming Committee. Sorry about the informal reception down there. If you'd prefer a more official meeting, we've set up a nice conference room at the United Nations. We have snacks and everything. Just let us know how many of you are coming so we can order enough coffee." Admiral Krasthul's eye stalks quivered with rage. "We are not here for meetings or snacks. We are here to conquer your world." Dave Thompson nodded understandingly. Right. The whole conquest thing. Look, before you go through all that trouble, maybe we could just chat. Diplomacy first, intergalactic war second. It's just good manners." The bridge fell silent as every alien turned to watch their admiral, whose carapace was now flushing a dangerous shade of purple. "Very well," Krasthul finally hissed. "We will send a delegation to your United Nations. But be warned, this changes nothing about our intentions." "Super, I'll email you the parking details. Oh, and fair warning, security's a bit of a nightmare, so allow extra time to get through the metal detectors." As the transmission ended, Lieutenant Commander Vexen Nor's voice came through on the intercom. "Sir, the humans are asking if we have any dietary restrictions for the welcome dinner, and something called CNN wants to know if you'd be available for an exclusive interview." Admiral Krasthul sank into his command chair. Somehow this was already going very differently than the 7,429 previous planetary conquests in his career. Admiral Krasthul paced the command deck, his exoskeleton clicking against the metallic floor with each agitated step. 3 standard Earth days had passed since their arrival, and not a single strategic objective had been accomplished. The situation reports flooding in from across the planet ranged from bewildering to humiliating. "Give me the status update," he barked at his intelligence officer, a diminutive bioluminescent being named Glix. Glix's light patterns flickered anxiously. Sir, our standard conquest protocol is experiencing difficulties. What kind of difficulties? Well, when we deployed our electromagnetic pulse weapons over their major cities to disable their technology, most humans just rebooted their devices. Apparently they're so used to their technology failing that they've developed workarounds. They call it turning it off and on again. Krasdhol's eye stalks twitched. What about our cyber warfare division? Surely they've infiltrated the humans' primitive networks by now. Glix's illumination dimmed noticeably. That's another issue, sir. Our top cyber specialists tried to hack into their defense systems, but they encountered something called teenagers. These juvenile humans appear to be hacking into our systems for the lulz, whatever that means. 3 of our dreadnoughts are now playing something called Never Gonna Give You Up on all communication channels, and we can't shut it off. This is outrageous. Krasdhol slammed all 4 fists onto the command console. What about our ground forces? They're encountering unusual resistance, sir. The main view screen activated, showing footage from a landing zone in a region identified as Texas. Dominion troops in full battle armor were surrounded not by military opposition, but by humans in casual attire sitting in portable chairs, consuming food and beverages while watching the alien soldiers as if they were at an entertainment event. What are they doing? Krasdhol asked, bewildered. The humans call it tailgating, sir. They appear to be treating our invasion as a spectator sport. They're grading our troops' performance and posting reviews online. The camera zoomed in on a human holding up a sign that read, 2/10 invasion needs more lasers. This is unacceptable, Krasdhol roared. Where are their militaries? Their defense forces? Why aren't they fighting back properly? They are, sir, just not in ways our tactical manuals prepared us for, Glix explained. In the region called Florida, our troops were attacked by local wildlife that the humans released deliberately. Our battalion commander described creatures called alligators in Florida man. The latter appears to be particularly dangerous and unpredictable. Krasdhol collapsed into his command chair. What about our atmospheric dominance strategy? Our ships controlling the skies over major population centers are being pestered, sir. The humans are using primitive flying devices they call drones to deliver food items to our gunners. Some have accepted these offerings, particularly something called pizza. 3 crew members have already requested asylum on Earth based solely on their culinary experiences. The Admiral's breathing tubes flared with indignation, and our ultimatum to their world leaders. They've responded with something called a joint Spotify playlist titled Songs to Invade Earth 2. It's actually quite catchy, especially the track called Enough. Krasdhol cut him off. What about our psychological warfare division? Surely the fear tactics are working. Glix brought up another screen showing a Dominion terror broadcast being streamed to Earth media. The broadcast, designed to instill panic and submission, was being watched by humans who appeared to be laughing. The humans have turned our fear transmission into something called a drinking game. Every time we mention conquering their planet, they consume alcohol. Our message is currently trending as entertainment on their information networks. Before Krasdhol could respond, Commander Zolvex, head of the ground forces, burst onto the bridge. Admiral, you need to see this immediately. The main screen switched to a battlefield scene. Dominion troops were retreating in disarray from what appeared to be ordinary human dwellings. What am I looking at, Commander? The region called Suburbia, sir. We attempted to establish a beachhead in this residential area, but encountered unexpected resistance. The small humans, children, lured our troops into ambush zones with something called candy. Then older humans emerged from their garages with implements our intelligence identified as primitive lawn care tools, but turn out to be surprisingly effective weapons. The footage showed a Dominion soldier being chased by an elderly human wielding a garden hose with remarkable precision. And sir, Zolvex continued hesitantly, their global communication network, this internet, has already assimilated our appearance, language and culture, into something they call memes. Our troops' morale is collapsing because humans are making fun of them. They're calling us space shrimp because of our exoskeletal resemblance to their aquatic food source. Krasdhol's rage was now tinged with confusion. How is this possible? Our intelligence indicated they were primitive, divided, unprepared. A new alert sounded. A human transmission was coming through on all channels, bypassing their advanced encryption as if it weren't even there. The face of a human female appeared on screen. She wore a simple uniform with insignia that the ship's computer couldn't identify. This is Commander Ellie Martinez of Earth Defense Initiative. I believe it's time we had a proper chat, Admiral Krasdhol. Your invasion isn't going as planned, is it? Krasdhol straightened, trying to maintain his dignity. Minor setbacks. We have 9,900 ships and the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Your resistance, while amusing, is futile." Commander Martinez smiled, but there was steel behind it. "You know what's actually amusing? That you thought we were showing you everything we had. That tailgating, the memes, the pizza deliveries. That was just us having a little fun before getting down to business." Something in her tone made Krastol's survival instincts flare. A cold feeling spread through his circulatory system. "What are you implying, human? Did you really think a species as paranoid and resourceful as humanity wouldn't have prepared for extraterrestrial contact? We've been expecting visitors for decades, some friendly, some not so much." She leaned closer to the camera. "We just wanted to see what you'd do first. And now we know exactly what kind of aliens you are." For the first time since the invasion began, Admiral Krastol felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries of conquest: genuine uncertainty. The bridge of the Dominion flagship fell silent, as Commander Ellie Martinez's words hung in the air. Admiral Krastol's inner membranes contracted nervously, though he fought to maintain his imperious demeanor. "Pretty speeches won't save your planet, human," he finally replied. "Your primitive species has simply been lucky so far. Our full military might has yet to be deployed." Commander Martinez's smile widened slightly. "About that, we've been monitoring your communications since you entered the solar system. Your full military might consists primarily of ships designed for intimidation rather than actual combat. Only about 20% of your fleet carries significant weaponry. The rest are basically space buses with scary-looking attachments." Krastol's eye stalks stiffened in shock. How could she possibly know that? The Dominion's fleet composition was one of their most closely guarded secrets. Furthermore, Martinez continued, tapping something off-screen, "Your ship's shield frequencies are embarrassingly easy to crack. Your quantum targeting systems have a 3-second recalibration vulnerability, and your troops' exo-armor has a critical weakness at the junction between the thoracic and abdominal segments." Each word hit Krastol like a physical blow. These were all classified vulnerabilities known only to the highest levels of Dominion command. That's impossible," he sputtered. "You cannot have this information." "Oh, but we do. You see, Admiral, Earth has been aware of alien life for over 70 years. Ever since a little incident in Roswell that we made sure was publicly ridiculed as conspiracy nonsense." On a secondary screen, Glix, the intelligence officer, was frantically searching their database. "Sir, she's referring to a spacecraft crash in their year 1947. Our records show it was a Zeta Reticulan scout ship. We dismissed it as an isolated incident." "It wasn't isolated," Martinez said, apparently able to hear their internal conversations. "Nor was it the last. Every few years someone from out there visits Earth, sometimes with bad intentions, sometimes just lost. We've been quietly collecting technology, information and understanding of galactic politics for decades." Krastol felt his confidence evaporating faster than water on a desert planet. "If what you say is true, why maintain the facade of being primitive? Why pretend to be technologically inferior?" Commander Martinez leaned back in her chair, looking almost sympathetic. "Have you ever heard the human phrase playing possum, Admiral? It's a survival strategy. When you're surrounded by potentially dangerous life forms, sometimes the smartest move is to appear harmless until you know exactly what you're dealing with." "And now you believe you know what you're dealing with?" Krastol asked, a note of menace returning to his voice. "Oh yes, we know exactly what the Galactic Dominion is. A bully that preys on worlds it believes can't fight back. A paper tiger with impressive ships but outdated tactics. An empire so convinced of its superiority that it broadcasts its invasion plans on unsecured channels." Before Krastol could respond, alarms began blaring across his ship. The tactical officer, a multi-limbed Vrexian, called out in panic, "Admiral, we're detecting energy signatures activating across the planet's surface and from their lunar base. They're powering up weapons systems that aren't in our database." Martinez nodded. "That would be our planetary defense grid coming online. We've kept it dormant to avoid detection. Wouldn't want to spoil the surprise." On the view screen, the blue planet below them began to shimmer as previously invisible installations revealed themselves. Massive energy readings erupted from beneath oceans, from mountain ranges, from what had appeared to be ordinary human structures. "Impossible," breathed Krastol. "Our scans showed no such technology. Quantum dampening fields," Martinez explained casually. "Borrowed from the Andromedans after they tried something similar about 30 years ago. They were much more polite about their defeat, by the way. Even stayed for brunch." Commander Zulvex rushed to Krastol's side. "Admiral, the humans have deployed some kind of subspace disruptors. Our fleet coordination systems are failing. Ships can't communicate with each other. And now Martinez continued, I think it's time we showed you why it's a bad idea to threaten Earth. She pressed a button on her console. All units, Operation Underdog is now active. You are cleared to engage. The view screen filled with images from around the Earth as human military forces emerged from hidden bunkers, ordinary-looking buildings, and even underwater bases. Soldiers in advanced powered armor that rivaled anything in the Dominion arsenal deployed across the globe. Aircraft that definitely weren't the primitive jets in the Dominion intelligence files streaked into the sky. We've been preparing for this moment since we realized we weren't alone in the universe, Martinez explained. Every major power on Earth secretly contributed to a unified defense plan while maintaining the illusion of division. Those political squabbles your intelligence reported, mostly theater to keep visitors like you underestimating us. Krastel watched in growing horror as Earth's true military capabilities revealed themselves. Ships he hadn't detected were rising from the oceans. Defense platforms in orbit that had somehow remained invisible to their scans were powering up. Admiral, Glix reported, voice quavering, Earth's moon, it appears to be opening. Indeed, a massive section of the lunar surface was retracting, revealing what could only be described as a doomsday weapon of incredible proportions. That, Martinez said with undisguised pride, is what we call the Luna Cannon, inspired by some anime our scientists watched in college. It's never been field tested, so thanks for the opportunity. For the first time in his long distinguished career of planetary subjugation, Admiral Krastel felt genuine fear. The supposedly primitive humans had orchestrated an elaborate deception, luring the Dominion fleet into a perfect trap. Every standard invasion tactic had been countered before it even began. Perhaps, Krastel said carefully, we should discuss terms. Martinez's expression hardened. I think you misunderstand the situation, Admiral. Your forces invaded our sovereign planet. You broadcast your intentions to enslave humanity and strip our world of resources. The time for discussion was before you sent 9,900 ships to our doorstep. She leaned forward, every trace of humor gone from her face. Now it's our turn. The Galactic Dominion had conquered 7,000 worlds across 12 galactic arms. They had subjugated species that could bend time, entities that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and civilizations with technology that bordered on magic. But they had never encountered anything like the humans of Earth. As Admiral Krasifel stared at the tactical display, his primary heart nearly stopped. All around the planet, his mighty invasion fleet was being systematically dismantled. The Luna Cannon had already destroyed 300 ships with surgical precision, its energy beam cutting through Dominion shields as if they were made of gossamer. Status report, he demanded, his voice cracking with uncharacteristic fear. His tactical officer's carapace had turned a sickly gray. Sir, the humans are deploying weapons we've never encountered before. They're not just using energy weapons, they're using our own technology against us. On the screen, Krasifel watched as Earth fighters no larger than shuttlecraft approached his dreadnoughts. Instead of firing conventional weapons, they emitted pulses that caused Dominion ships to simply shut down. What is that? He whispered. They appear to be targeted electromagnetic pulse weapons, Glix explained, voice trembling, but calibrated specifically to our ship's operating frequencies. They're not damaging the vessels, they're just turning them off. How could they possibly know our operating frequencies? Unknown, sir. But they seem to know everything about us. Commander Zulvex rushed in, his military composure completely abandoned. Admiral, the humans have deployed ground troops using some kind of teleportation technology. They're materializing directly inside our landed vessels. The main screen switched to helmet camera footage from a Dominion soldier. The image showed human special forces in sleek, advanced armor moving through a Dominion ship with practiced efficiency. They weren't killing the alien crew. They were systematically stunning them and taking control of key systems. This is madness, Krasifel muttered. They're capturing our ships intact. Another alarm blared, this one so rare that most of the bridge crew had never heard it before. Sir, we have intruders on the command deck, a security officer shouted. Before anyone could react, the main doors to the bridge slid open. Standing there were 6 humans in powered armor that seemed to shimmer with an energy field the sensors couldn't properly analyze. Their weapons weren't raised, but the implicit threat was clear. Admiral Krasifel, the lead human said, removing her helmet to reveal a middle-aged woman with silver-streaked black hair. I'm General Rebecca Chen, Earth Defense Force. I'm here to formally accept your surrender. Witchers formally accept your surrender. Krasifel's mandibles clicked in defiance. The Dominion does not surrender. General Chen raised an eyebrow. Look at your tactical display, Admiral. You've already lost over 2,000 ships, none of them destroyed. We're not monsters, but completely neutralized. Your ground forces have been captured. Your communication network has been compromised. Your options are limited. How? Krazathul finally asked, genuine confusion overwhelming his pride. How could a single planet do this to the mightiest fleet in the galaxy? General Chen actually smiled. You made a fundamental error in your intelligence gathering, Admiral. You saw our public technology, our commercial aircraft, our consumer electronics, our entertainment media, and assumed that represented the peak of our capabilities. She walked further onto the bridge, her armor whirring softly with each step. What you didn't see were the centuries of warfare that taught us to always keep our best weapons secret. You didn't account for human paranoia, our constant preparation for worst-case scenarios. And most importantly, you didn't understand that Earth has been quietly salvaging, reverse engineering, and improving upon alien technology for decades. Krazathul sank into his command chair as the full weight of their miscalculation hit him. Those ships that crashed on your world over the years. Exactly. Unfortunate for them. Educational for us. Each one gave us pieces of a puzzle. We learned about subspace communications, anti-gravity propulsion, quantum shielding, all while presenting the face of a divided, technology-dependent species that would be easy to conquer. Another human entered the bridge, and Krazathul recognized Commander Martinez from their earlier communication. Admiral, Martinez nodded respectfully. I've been authorized to inform you that the rest of your fleet has been neutralized. We've established control over 8,794 of your vessels so far. The remainder have either surrendered, or are in the process of being secured. Our casualties, General Chen asked. Minimal, 17 injured, no fatalities. We caught them completely off guard. Krazathul's eye stalks drooped in defeat. The greatest armada in galactic history, neutralized in less than one Earth day, without a single human death. It was beyond humiliating. It was historically unprecedented. What happens now? He asked quietly. General Chen's expression softened slightly. That's partially up to you, Admiral. Earth has no interest in slaughter or needless cruelty. Your crew members will be treated according to interstellar conventions on prisoners of war, which yes, we're familiar with despite not officially being part of the galactic community. And our ships, those we're keeping, Martinez said firmly. Consider them reparations for your unprovoked attack on our planet. They'll be studied, adapted, and added to Earth's defense forces. A horrifying thought suddenly occurred to Krazathul, the Dominion, when they learn of this defeat. They'll send another fleet. Chen finished his thought. Perhaps. But next time they won't be facing a planet pretending to be defenseless. They'll be facing a humanity that has added Dominion technology to our arsenal, and is prepared for their tactics. She leaned closer. And just to be clear, Admiral, we're sending some of your ships back. The ones carrying the highest-ranking officers who surrendered honorably. They'll deliver a message to your Dominion. Earth is off limits. They won't believe it, Krazathul said. The Dominion Council will think it's a trick, a fabrication, which is why we're sending back comprehensive records of your defeat, and why we're keeping you, Admiral, as our guest, until such time as the Dominion acknowledges Earth's sovereign status. Martinez held up a small data device. We've already downloaded your ship's complete tactical database. We know the location of every Dominion world, outpost, and fleet deployment. If the Dominion sends another invasion force, we won't be limiting our response to defensive actions. The implication was clear, and terrifying. In a single day, humanity had gone from a supposedly easy conquest to an existential threat to the Galactic Dominion itself. One of Krazathul's junior officers, a young officer on his first campaign, broke protocol to ask the question all of them were thinking. Were you always this advanced, or did you accelerate your development because you knew we were coming? General Chen and Commander Martinez exchanged a look that Krazathul couldn't interpret. Let's just say, Martinez answered carefully, that humanity has always been good at rising to occasions. It's kind of our specialty. As Krazathul was escorted from his own bridge, he caught a final glimpse of the tactical display. Where once 9,900 mighty Dominion vessels had surrounded Earth in an inescapable net of doom, now the planet stood unharmed, while the invaders had been thoroughly and systematically defeated. The greatest military disaster in Dominion history had just occurred, and Admiral Krazathul realized with grim certainty that it would not be the last time the galaxy underestimated the deceptively primitive-looking blue planet called Earth. 3 standard months had passed since the failed invasion of Earth. In the holding facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a complex that had ostensibly been a military storage site on human maps, Admiral Krazathul sat motionless, contemplating his downfall. His quarters were comfortable enough by Dominion standards. The humans had gone to surprising lengths to accommodate his physiological needs, from the specific atmospheric mixture to the radiation levels that kept his exoskeleton properly maintained. It was almost as if they'd been preparing for Dominion captives long before the invasion began. The door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Commander Martinez entered, carrying a data tablet. "Good morning, Admiral," she said, taking a seat across from him. "I trust you're finding your accommodations adequate." Krasdhol's eye stalks swiveled to face her. "Your hospitality is irrelevant in the face of my disgrace, Commander. Have you brought news of the Dominion's response to your message?" Martinez placed the tablet on the table between them. "Yes, and it's not what either of us expected." She activated the device, projecting a holographic image of a Dominion communication. Krasdhol immediately recognized the sender, High Chancellor Uxmore herself. "They've issued a formal acknowledgement of your capture," Martinez explained. "But more surprisingly, they've proposed a diplomatic summit. It seems your defeat has rattled them more than we anticipated." Krasdhol's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was his expression of surprise. "The Dominion does not negotiate with conquered species. This is unprecedented." "Unless they weren't planning to conquer us in the first place," Martinez said, studying his reaction carefully. "Unless this entire invasion was something else entirely." The Admiral went very still. "I don't understand your implication, Commander." Martinez leaned forward. "Our analysts have been going through your ship's databases. We've found some inconsistencies. For instance, why would an invasion force of this magnitude carry extensive xenobiology laboratories? Why would you need cultural assimilation protocols for a planet you supposedly intended to strip of resources? And most puzzling of all, why bring 10,000 terraforming engines to a world you plan to conquer rather than colonize?" For the first time since his capture, Krasdhol appeared genuinely uncomfortable. "You are reaching erroneous conclusions based on incomplete data." "I don't think so." Martinez tapped on the tablet, bringing up internal Dominion communications that made Krasdhol's inner membranes contract with anxiety. "These were triple encrypted, but nothing we couldn't handle. They suggest that the conquest narrative was a cover for something else, something you weren't told about." Krasdhol remained silent. "Let me tell you what we think happened," Martinez continued. "The Galactic Dominion has been aware of Earth for much longer than you suggested. They've been monitoring us, studying us, not as a conquest target, but as a potential solution to a problem." She brought up another file, one that Krasdhol had never seen before. It showed genetic analyses of various species, including humans. Certain sequences were highlighted. "Your species is dying out, isn't it? The Dominion is facing a fertility crisis across multiple member races. Your genetic diversity is collapsing after millennia of isolated development on colony worlds. But humans," she gestured to the DNA analysis, "humans have something unique. Genetic adaptability that your scientists believe could be the key to saving dozens of species from extinction." Krasdhol's silence confirmed her theory. "So the real mission wasn't conquest at all," Martinez said. "It was acquisition. The Dominion Council wanted Earth intact, with humans as unwitting saviors rather than slaves. But they couldn't just ask nicely, could they? Not with their reputation, so they fabricated this entire invasion scenario." "Your theories are creative, Commander, but they sent you here to fail, Admiral," Martinez interrupted. "You were set up. The Council knew Earth wasn't the primitive world they briefed you about. They knew we had advanced technology and defensive capabilities. You were meant to be captured, and this whole situation was designed to open diplomatic channels without the Dominion losing face." Krasdhol's carapace flushed dark with what humans had learned was the equivalent of pallor in his species. "That's absurd," he finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. "The Council would never sacrifice thousands of ships and personnel for a diplomatic gambit." Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Wouldn't they? Especially since none of your ships were destroyed, just captured. And especially since your crew members are being treated humanely. It's almost as if they knew exactly how we would respond." A memory flashed through Krasdhol's mind, High Chancellor Uxmore's strange insistence on bringing the full fleet, her casual dismissal of his concerns about Earth's minimal defenses, the unusual haste with which the invasion was planned, bypassing standard intelligence verification protocols. "If what you're suggesting is true," he said slowly, "then I am an even greater fool than I thought. Or perhaps you're exactly who they needed," Martinez countered. "A decorated admiral with a flawless conquest record, whose defeat would be significant enough to justify a complete change in Dominion policy toward Earth." She stood up, straightening her uniform. "The diplomatic delegation arrives tomorrow. High Chancellor Uxmore herself is leading it, along with representatives from 12 key Dominion species. They've requested your presence at the negotiations. To what end? Krasthul asked bitterly. To witness my humiliation. No, Admiral. I believe they want you to understand the role you've played, and perhaps to offer you redemption. As Martinez turned to leave, Krasthul called after her. Commander, if your theory is correct, if this was all an elaborate scheme to establish relations with Earth, why go to such lengths? Why not simply approach openly? Martinez paused at the door, perhaps because they needed to see how we would respond to an existential threat, whether we would destroy our enemies when given the chance, or show mercy. Maybe the invasion wasn't just about opening diplomatic channels, it was a test of character. After she left, Krasthul remained motionless for a long time, contemplating the possibility that his greatest military failure might have been his true purpose all along. The diplomatic reception hall had once been a missile silo, now it was transformed into an elegant meeting space, with accommodations for dozens of different physiologies. Earth's political leaders from various nations stood on one side of the vast circular chamber, while the Dominion delegation occupied the other. High Chancellor Uxmore, her 12 eyes blinking in their complex pattern, approached the center of the room. President Reyes of the United Earth Coalition stepped forward to meet her. On behalf of the Galactic Dominion, Uxmore's translated voice resonated through the chamber. I extend greetings to humanity. We come in peace, seeking cooperation and mutual benefit. Several human officials exchanged knowing glances. President Reyes maintained a diplomatic smile. An interesting change in posture from 3 months ago, Chancellor. When your fleet surrounded our planet with hostile intent, Uxmore's translator conveyed what might have been a chuckle. Perceptions can be deceiving, Madam President, as I believe you understand better than most. From his position near the human delegation, Admiral Krasthul watched the exchange with new understanding. The elaborate dance of diplomacy unfolding before him confirmed what Martinez had suggested. This had been the plan all along. General Chen stepped forward, her military uniform adorned with new insignia that incorporated elements of Dominion design. Let's dispense with the pretense, shall we? You needed a way to approach humanity without losing face with the other galactic powers. An invasion that failed spectacularly gave you that opening. Chancellor Uxmore's upper appendages made a gesture of acknowledgement. Your insight serves you well, General Chen. The Dominion has a reputation to maintain. We cannot simply request aid from species we have traditionally viewed as resources. So you sacrificed Admiral Krasthul's career and risked thousands of your people, President Reyes observed. That shows both desperation and calculation. It shows necessity, Uxmore countered. Our genetic crisis threatens the existence of 17 Dominion species. Our scientists discovered decades ago that human DNA contains unique adaptive properties that could provide a solution, but the Council could not agree on an approach. She gestured toward Krasthul. The Admiral's mission was classified at the highest levels. He believed he was leading a standard conquest. In reality, he was opening the door to the most important diplomatic relationship in Dominion history. Krasthul stepped forward, his posture rigid with contained emotion. You used me, Chancellor. You sent me to fail. I sent you to succeed in a mission more important than conquest. Uxmore replied. And you did. The Council awards you the Order of the 7 Stars for your service. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The Dominion's highest military honor, given for what appeared to be its greatest defeat. Commander Martinez, standing beside General Chen, cleared her throat. Now that we've acknowledged the real situation, perhaps we can discuss terms. Earth is willing to provide genetic assistance to the Dominion species in need, but we have conditions. Of course you do. Uxmore's translator conveyed something like amusement. We expected nothing less. President Reyes outlined humanity's terms: full membership in the galactic community, technology exchange protocols, non-aggression treaties, and guarantees that human genetic material would be used only for medical purposes, never for weapons or forced adaptation programs. As the negotiations continued, Admiral Krasthul found himself in a strange position, no longer a conqueror or even a prisoner, but a witness to history. The invasion that wasn't an invasion had transformed into a summit that would reshape galactic politics. Later, in a quiet moment away from the formal proceedings, Commander Martinez approached him. How does it feel, Admiral, to learn that your greatest failure was actually your greatest success? Krasthul's eye stalk swiveled thoughtfully. I am processing this revelation, Commander. For a warrior of the Dominion, to be used as a diplomatic pawn is difficult to accept. If it helps, Martinez offered, I don't think you were just a pawn. I think you were chosen specifically because of your record. They needed someone whose defeat would be significant enough to justify a complete policy change. Perhaps he acknowledged, though that provides little comfort. Consider this then, she suggested. In the official histories, you'll be recorded as the admiral who opened relations between Earth and the Dominion, the commander who saw the value in cooperation rather than conquest. Not a bad legacy, all things considered. As they spoke across the room, human and Dominion representatives were already forming working groups, discussing genetic therapies, cultural exchanges, and technological cooperation. Two civilizations that might have destroyed each other were instead forging an alliance that would benefit both. You humans have a saying, Krasthul noted, watching the proceedings. All's well that ends well. I believe I now understand its meaning. Martinez smiled. We have another saying too, Admiral. This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And as the first formal treaty between Earth and the Galactic Dominion took shape, the Admiral who had brought 9,900 ships to conquer a planet, found himself instead a reluctant ambassador for a new era of interstellar cooperation, proof that sometimes the greatest victories come disguised as defeats.